Hey everybody, we're back for another round, and all you global gladiators are going to hear today about the Golden Dragon's enemy, Complexity 2, and they're fronted by Ah Long. So these guys got a major revamp in the Aftershock version. So there's significant differences. They almost don't even run the same between the first Kickstarter and the second Kickstarter. So if you're looking for variety, then maybe you can source a Kickstarter 1 version from somebody that doesn't use it anymore. But otherwise, I think a lot of the improvements are done pretty well. Things to understand also, the Golden Dragons were so popular, Ah Long was so popular, that he is the reason why there is a redemption pack at all. Because it was just such a cool design that everybody wanted to be able to play him. So the Saddlers caved, and we have redemption packs. Pretty amazing. So let's take a quick look and see what these guys can do and why they were so cool and why they were a fan favorite right now. First up, we'll look at the version 2 Ah Long, right? This is from the second Kickstarter. It's not from the first one. Both of them have a Shadow Sun card that they have to put out, and both of them have Heavenly Dragon cards, but they just got it entirely reworked. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. It's fine. You're going to have a good time playing either way. It just plays differently. So one of the things to notice is that his health does not have a P on it. It is a flat 15. The P appears on the Shadow Sun card. So that adjusts by 5 health per player. And this is a permanent card and it cannot leave play no matter what. Again, I think that maybe they don't need to be tactics for these ones that can't leave play. Maybe they can be just put in as a stage condition or something. Maybe in a future version they'll switch to that kind of nomenclature. But for right now, just don't get confused. They can't leave play. They can't be disarmed or anything like that. Okay, what else do we need to talk about? In the setup, Heavenly Dragon cards. There's 4, 2 of each kind. And the reason there's 4 is because you can only have 4 players out there. But discard the rest. You put 1 in each fighter's threat area, you discard the rest. Does not mean remove from the game. It means you put it in a discard pile. Oh, what does that do to our strategy? We have to figure out how to not get a doubling of these Heavenly Dragon cards put on us if we only have 1 or 2 fighters out there. If you have 1 fighter and it takes you a while, you could have all 4 on you at the same time, and it's like murder trying to get them off. As far as his regular activation, keep in mind he'll do a pretty strong attack of 4, and it's going to deal an additional direct damage. So it'll do the regular 4 punch, grapple, kick, and then 1 extra direct damage is going to make it through. And if you didn't get hit by him, you're going to have to deal with the mercy effect. And all of those mercy effects make him stronger, either with more defense tokens or by healing him. So that's kind of the big problem with him, is the longer he's out, he might just come back up to full strength. Shadow Sun, when it activates, it's going to give him a minimum of 2 defense tokens of each type. So every round, you're going to have to either do 6 general damage before you can do 1 regular damage, or a minimum of 2 specific damage in order to break through what he's going to gain every single time Shadow Sun activates. Why are those counts important? Well, it's the only way you can get rid of those Heavenly Dragon cards. It says that each time Ah Long suffers 5 or more damage from a single attack, you can finally discard a Heavenly Dragon card. But if it's going to put out 2 of each type every time, that means you're going to have to do a minimum of 11 general damage or 7 specific damage, minimum, absolute minimum, in order to hurt him. You can do it with more than 1 player. Let's say you're able to get a couple of the specific tokens off of him by using an ally, and you got lucky, and that just happened to get through the 2 minimum ones that were there, and there weren't any extras. Or you have another fighter that's out, and you're able to pelt away, and you both do the same type of damage type. You're probably going to have to coordinate 1 fighter getting all of the defense tokens away, and then the other fighter coming in on their charge side and hoping that it takes them out. But they get discarded which means that they're going to cycle back through whenever the deck is recycled when they're finished going, through. So you're going to need a character. I preferred using Yinghua to be in control of what the next card popping up was from the boss, and just keep dumping everything possible back into the discard. So more tactics and whatnot would not pop back. Speaking of tactics, his are some of the worst. Invincible armor means that he gets even more defense tokens to be able to utilize. And for each defense token on the card, it's going to deal each fighter 1 damage of the matching type. Each fighter. So you're going to have these 3 random defense tokens that are on there that get to be used that you might have to fight through in order to do any damage trying to get rid of those Heavenly Dragon cards. And if there's anything left, it's going to smack you in the face. It says deal 1 damage of the matching type. So at least it's not going to be direct damage. You might still have a chance of blocking it, but it's every single round. So it sucks. You can discard this tactic if needed by using someone like Natalia and her disarm, or you could get lucky in the loot if you have the Aftershock expansion, because some of the loot does allow you to force a discard. Merciless Clutch. Every time All Long attacks, he's going to deal +1 grapple damage. That is not the same as the activate on Invincible Armor that just deals damage, so be careful. It must say attack, and then he's going to do that additional grapple. This is tough for a lot of the fighters. Maybe Gabriel is going to have the easiest time dealing with that, just because whenever he hits, he's going to be generating the grapple tokens whenever he gets a shield. But the other folks, lots of punches and kicks out there. So other things that he does if he gets Merciless Clutch out there is he'll gain grapple defense tokens from each fighter that was not attacked that way. Not the end of the world with this. If you're not dealing grapple damage to him, then you don't really get blocked by his grapple attacks. So, it might make it worse for Gabriel taking away that kind of stuff, but for other folks, maybe you'll be able to break through and have it work out. You're just going to have to time your attacks, time your abilities in order to break through his defense. And then we're looking at the Heavenly Dragon cards. These are the big pains in the butt. There are 2 of each, the Phasing Hook Punch and the Black Typhoon Kick. These go in your threat area, which means they do not go in the enemy play area. So when you get a card like Disarm for Natalia and it says discard a card controlled, typically that means it has to be a card that's inside the enemy play area. That's a problem. So the only way you can get rid of these is by following the instructions on Shadow Sun. Okay, let's say you broke through, you got rid of them, great. You didn't, here's the problems. Every single time that you have your threat phase, All Long, if he's near you, is going to deal you some specific damage or gain that type of either punch or kick defense token. So he's got ways of getting grapple, he's got ways of getting punch and kick. Sucks. The mercy effects also will go through on his turn, and that's either going to heal or make each fighter, that's everything that counts as a fighter, okay? That includes your allies, discard your defense tokens. You are going to be in a near impossible situation with All Long here if you don't have one of the many allies that's out there that can give you some defense tokens. And you need to give everybody the defense tokens, or they're only going to make it through 1 or 2 rounds, and that's really not enough to give you enough of a start to get your tactics out and really get your motor running. So stuff to think about. Be careful on how you play against him, and if you can break through his defense really fast, someone like Natalia that can do a lot of damage into one target is very helpful. If you're able to make it work with someone like Yinghua when you're doing the discards, that you can generate a lot of damage at one time, that might be helpful too. If there's a lot of those cards in the discard pile, let's say you have all 5 of a certain type of minion, you flip that card with a Yinghua that deals 5 damage. Hopefully you've already used your attack and gotten rid of whatever the specific needs are for the defense tokens that are currently available. The best advice I got for you, I say Yanghua is very helpful at just getting rid of all of these and keeping them in the discard pile as much as possible so you don't draw them and end up having to heal twice or lose 2 tokens every round, because that would suck. And with all that going on, you may be saying to yourself, oh gee, then he's doing a lot of damage, it's gonna be hard to hurt him. Yeah, it's gonna be even harder because he's got minions. These guys, Dao, Jin, and Wanbo, and they hurt. So Dao 6 health, Jin 5 health, Wanbo 7 and 5 damage dice. That's the highest. That's like a boss. It's more than most bosses hitting you in an arc 2 spaces away, because he's got the big long bow staff that he can hit you with. So these guys, they can hurt you pretty good. Run from along as much as you can, and then try to deal with these minions, because otherwise they're going to overwhelm you really fast. Talk about it. Dao, all right, he's going to advance, he's going to attack, he's going to retreat and get some defense tokens. But he gets defense tokens for each space he retreats into. One of the things you can do with him is try to keep him towards board edges, and he has to retreat into a straight line. You might be able to push him into a board edge, and then he won't get as much back from his retreats. It's a little bit of a cheat, but you know, you do what you got to do. As far as Jin, talking about a cheater, so he runs in, he attacks everyone that's engaged with him for 4, which is a massive attack, and otherwise starts gaining defense tokens. Whew. Then, after he attacks, if he was unengaged, it's not like you got away with it. Like, no, he's still going to run at you and try to deal 3 general damage. These guys, the general damage, it's not the worst thing in the world if you are able to have some type of ally, like I said, or Megan, somebody that can generate the necessary number of defense tokens for you to keep you alive. But if you don't have that, Jin's going to just mess you up. Wanbo, luckily, he only moves 1 space at a time, so you can kite him around the board and maybe get rid of him with some type of other attack, ranged attack. Maybe that'll work out. If he's unengaged, he's going to deal 2 general damage in an arc, and yeah, otherwise he's just going to stack up those random defense tokens. Bow staff is a very defensive weapon. He knows how to use it, and he's going to hit you in the face. Do the best you can. If you can keep him also towards the edges, then maybe you can run yourself through the middle and avoid getting hit. Movement control really is all you can do. What happens when these guys are in your side? Well, all along, he gets to attack twice for 3, and that 6 sets of attack dice are amazing. It has to be on a different enemy. It can't be on the same enemy. If you're trying to attack just one minion or boss or whatever the case is, then you can only do it 1 time. But he's able to attack where he's standing and then move to another enemy and do an additional attack for 3. This helps soften someone up or maybe finish someone off that you weren't able to attack yourself. Just be careful, because he kind of has to start in a position that allows him to attack, and that means he's probably going to get hit first. And, you know, doesn't have a ton of health, but he can survive a couple of good hits. Jin, he just runs forward and then does 3 general damage to each enemy engaged with him. Most enemies in the beginning, when you have full access to your allies, are not bunched up, so really it's just like 3 general damage. It's good for getting rid of some defense tokens, but as far as neutralizing a real minion, I don't think it's really going to happen. It's okay though. It's like a mid-tier ally to have. Wanbo is just as slow as he normally is. He's only really able to move 1 space at a time, but he will accrue defense tokens, which is good. Not a lot of allies will do that, and when he attacks, he is able to hit in an arc for a lot. 4 damage. Look at what the comparison with the rest of them, right? Not a lot. Usually an ally can give you 1, 2, maybe 3. 4 is hard to come by. So that's why Along being able to do 6 is major. But against a single opponent, Wanbo is one of the only ones that can do a full 4. Then when we take a look at the rival side, Along, he's going to advance, attack, and if otherwise, he's going to gain a defense token. His attack for 4 is pretty beefy. It's not something you want to get hit by, but really, he's like just an enhanced minion. As far as Jin goes, he is going to attack an engaged fighter. Then, I guess, if he kills you, it says then if unengaged. But the only way that he could attack each engaged fighter, then be unengaged, is if he killed an ally. Otherwise, you lost. So it's not really going to trigger. But if he did, he would advance again and try to deal 3 more general damage. So it's like he does a swipe on one end and then runs and swipes on the backside. Wanbo, 10 health, 5 damage, just smacking you around with that stick. And he's going to basically be the same thing he is if he is pulled as a minion. So he'll gain some random defense tokens. The type of person that just kind of slowly wanders around the board causing you problems, he is the Street Master's version of whatever the demon is in It Follows. And this is not the only thing you can do with these folks. All along, again, his popularity has extended into Brook City. So if you bought the Brook City expansion called Keys to the Kingdom, you can have these rivals to go with him, and it'll come with a new sculpt for All Along. He's more of a rock and roll jet setter type of guy. There is a full campaign for Keys to the Kingdom in Brook City, so you really are playing with Yinghua. You really are playing with All Along. If you haven't picked that game up, totally different, but it's the same feel, and it runs very similarly because they're both modular deck system games. But it is a good game. Give it a shot, and you can extend these characters out. So what happens with All Along? He's your rival, since we just talked about rivals. Each fighter, okay, that is not each fighter engaged. That is, each fighter must discard 2 defense tokens and give them to All Along, or All Along attacks them. Each fighter, doesn't matter where they are. Each fighter. So attacks them, that's not deal damage. So the attack part, I think, has to happen within an engagement range. So if you just said, all right, I'm not going to discard anything, then maybe that's okay. And because he can't attack you from not within engagement range. Okay, maybe that'll work. But I think avoid it. Either way, just avoid it. So after fully resolving the effect, that means everybody has had their stuff taken away from them, or they've been attacked. Then he gets to move to wherever the last fighter he attacked was. So he's not necessarily moving so much as teleporting. So yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a very different mechanic. If he's your ally, though, I don't know, super cool. What are you gonna get out of him? He's gonna attack all the enemies engaged with him for 3, so that's pretty cool. And then get 2 random defense tokens or move. So you can just have him stand there, soaking hits, dealing damage out, or bounce him around the board if you feel that's better than picking up defense. It's different. I don't think any of the other allies and rivals work exactly like he does in these capacities. So if you're looking to mix up your game, Keys to the Kingdom from Brook City. And what's another way we can spice things up? Well, showdown stories. They are awesome. And if you're going to pump up All Along, then everybody's still getting Heavenly Dragon cards. That's not changing. Shadow Sun and all that cool stuff. But when he attacks each fighter, he's going to be dealing +2 direct damage and still doing the Mercy effects. It's a little more health. So if you had 1 fighter, then it's like doubling the amount of extra health he would get from Shadow Sun. If it's 2 fighters, then less so. By the time you get to 4 fighters, the percentage increase is not so high. So there you go. It's something that scales better for you. The more players that you bring into or more fighters you bring into the game. So make friends, play with them, does a little bit more damage, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of ways to mix it up. Since this did get a complete revamp in the second Kickstarter for Aftershock, then the second Kickstarter for Street Masters, which was the Kickstarter for Aftershock, just to be 100% clear if you're watching this in the far future, then you might want to be able to track down the first Kickstarter version of the Golden Dragons just to vary things out. It is a complete game. There was nothing wrong with it. They just wanted to change it up a little bit. They wanted to change the way that he functioned and the way that the rest of the Golden Dragons functioned. There were some changes to Jin that basically were clarifications, and then the rest was to All Long and the way the Heavenly Dragon cards worked. So, and Shadow Sun especially. So it's just different. It's that's what you're looking for, variety. I would not mix and match the second Kickstarter stuff with the first Kickstarter. That part's up to you. Otherwise, pick up Aftershock. You'll get these showdowns, and that will make this already difficult enemy even more difficult for you. But hopefully you'll have a full complement of upgraded cards for your fighter by the time you start mixing this stuff in. And that's it for the Golden Dragons in Along. If you've been following along in order, then we have one more to go, and that is the very complicated to describe because it has 3 different bosses version of the kingdom, and that will complete the enemies for the core set. Lots of variety. It keeps you busy. Cool minis, cool attacks, lots of different options available. Great fighters. It's a pretty solid game. And if you want to find out, I mentioned Brook City. If you want to find out about all of the games so far that have come out from Blacklist Games, I've included them all on my channel. I have a separate channel that I put all of the Kickstarter stuff that's coming out for the week in the board game, RPG, 3D printing, all that kind of cool stuff space, and keeps everybody informed with what's going on. If there's any cool models or paint stuff that's brand new or anything else, that's where you get your full news. I'm endeavor to make it a complete picture, not a top 5, top 3, that kind of thing. Because who am I to say what's the top? You have your own buying decision. You're looking out for your own stuff. So make it a complete picture and you can make the decisions for yourself. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. Anyway, that is in the description. You can click on it and be taken there. You can also be taken to a playlist full of all my other Street Master stuff, everything that I made for the original Kickstarter. So if you had any questions about something that I'm referencing from the original Kickstarter, you can find out about it there. Or, just enjoy yourself. You guys have a good one. Take it easy.